These days, you don't have to work hard at all to find yourself in a position of information overload. It's so easy, and the internet obviously is one of the easiest ways to accomplish that. Well, I wanted to talk today about the idea of what you transmit on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Thursday, the 4th of November of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this subject of what you transmit, and it's sort of related to that idea in my mind. Let me go ahead and read through my notes, and maybe it'll give you some idea sort of where I'm coming from. You don't have to be all that old to remember when it was uncommon to receive unsolicited mail. Yes, the snail kind. Well, some bright spark came to the conclusion we weren't producing enough junk paper and that they would get a 2 or 3% response if they flooded the mail system with more or less garbage paper. Every Wednesday, as a rule, I get a not-so-neat package of junk paper that goes straight from my mailbox to the garbage can in my kitchen. Excuse me. Not to be outdone, when email became generally popular, folks decided to absolutely flood my various email boxes with garbage emails, most of which get deleted completely unread. The folks who send that electronic garbage make similar conjectures to those sending the paper version. If I can get a 1 or 2% response, they contend, I can pay for the campaign and sell some products from which I'll make a profit. Does it work? Do they continue to do it? If you answered yes to that second question, you have to know it must. I mean, the Nigerian lawyer is still sending his emails, so even that must be a somewhat successful endeavor. Here's where things get weird. When it comes to social media posts and chain mail and emails, most of the time the benefit is pretty much zero. That is, chain mail and chain emails, in case you were wondering. Most of the time the benefit is pretty much zero. Obviously, a certain number will pay attention to such things, and honestly, from the right person, I even do that sometimes, though pretty rarely. All this said, the majority of folks who spam social media get little to nothing off of doing so. They're not gaining a lot out of it. Advertisers are, but not people who are spamming social media with pie recipes or whatever, dog pictures, whatever it happens to be. I've talked in various forms about their activity and questioned why on earth they continue on their course. It's amazing to me. I don't get it. And I've written blog posts, I've written on social media, posts on social media and so forth to try and question and figure out why they continue to do it. Apparently, though, the message doesn't make its way through. This is something that befuddles me to this day. If you know you're posting stuff 98% of folks will not care about or want to see, why continue to do it? I've gone so far as to try and explain why even the time sink aspect is not the worst of it. I've never done a video where I discuss this before. That's what this little gem is intended to spotlight. Hope I don't bore too many people looking at my stuff. One way or another, though, here goes. And this is on massive posters, on social media and so forth, and their tendency to, quote, overshare. Does what you transmit matter? It sure does from my perspective. Look, I've started with look recently instead of here's the thing. When you put a whole bunch of stuff out there on social media, you take up a number of different kinds of resources in order to do that. My videos I try to make as timely and as reasonable as I can, while at the same time sort of working to make them timeless in the process. And I hope I'm succeeding at that. If you don't think that's the case, you can always let me know by commenting on my videos. And if you choose to do so, giving me negative feedback on them as well. But the point is, I really try very hard not to overshare. I keep myself typically to a video a day. One day I did 2, and it was because I thought it was really important to do the second one, or I just wouldn't have bothered. Here's what I'm trying to get across to you, though. There are people I know, and they're nice people mostly. Yet, if you look at what they're doing, you'll see that they're spamming social media. Absolutely spamming it. Why are they doing that? I don't know if it's because they're bored or if it's because they're trying to do something that they think is beneficial or what it is. And that's one of the things that I can't figure out. But look, if you send, let's say 1 million emails, okay, then 1 million emails are going to make their way around the internet and clog up the pipes. Not totally, not completely, not for a super long period of time. Nonetheless, they're going to reduce the amount of bandwidth that's necessary for other things. I'm a software developer, and when people develop software, they try to make it better and better, right? Supposedly better and better. That's great. But the problem is you eat resources in a horribly serious kind of a way if you're not very careful in the ways that you improve various kinds of software that you develop. Well, same thing applies when you put a whole bunch of emails out there or a whole bunch of social media posts or whatever. If nothing else, you make it so that I spend my time scrolling through a whole bunch of stuff about which I care not a bit. Okay? But really, there's more to it than that. Facebook has so much resource, and they have a lot of resource, but it's still limited in what they have that they can use to process various things that are going through their little service. The interwebs has only so much bandwidth, and periodically what's going to happen is you're going to hit bottlenecks, and it's going to make it so that things fall down. So you have to understand or realize, I guess, that you're not just making it so that people are having to scroll through 45 messages from the last time they checked 10 minutes ago on a given social media platform. You have to realize that there's more to it than that. You, like people who are cutting down trees to make the paper that's used in the advertisements that I throw in my garbage can from the second they come through my door, you need to understand you too are wasting resource by what you're doing. That's just as simple as that. It doesn't really matter whether you understand what's going on there. You don't have to know that if you run that your local electric company will tell you not to turn your heat down to 68 because you're going to waste a lot of electricity in the process, and it's going to make it so that brownouts and other things are far more likely to happen. Well, the same thing happens when you do things like post huge amounts of stuff on social media. There are limited resources to do that job. You don't have to know how that works or why that works that way. You don't have to understand it. All you have to know is there's a reason people talk about scarcity of resources, and even if you don't want to agree with scarcity, which I do, by the way, you have to understand that resources are finite. There is a limit to what to what resources are available out there for you to use for various purposes. So besides the fact that you're making people like me either decide to ignore you or to, wander through a plethora of garbage posts on whatever social media platform I'm looking at the moment, besides that fact, you're also wasting a huge amount of other resources in the process. I really would like for people to think about exactly what it is they're transmitting, what you transmit. It's that simple. What you're putting out there for other people to see, some of it's good, granted, some of it's bad, but I just made a sandwich is probably not something for a social media post unless it's a pretty darn awesome sandwich. And I'm sorry, I've seen a lot of your sandwiches. They're not that great. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 4th of November of 2021. We're finally stepping even closer towards that weekend. Not that I am necessarily looking for time to move all that much faster. Tomorrow will be Friday, the 5th of November of 2021. So we'll begin that Sabbath for those who are observers of the Sabbath at sundown on Friday. I hope you're having a good day today, regardless of all of that. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. And remember the subject for today, not that it's hard to remember, I don't think today, has been what you transmit. Tomorrow we're going to talk about crouching worker hidden prices. And you'll see exactly what I'm on about when I talk about it. But the reality is that there are a lot of people who out there who are undervaluing things because they're looking at the thing itself and they're not looking at the people who are having to do the various work that surrounds the thing that they're looking at. Hope you're having a good day today. As I've said, I hope everything is going well for you and that you're happy to be moving ever closer to that weekend. And finally, I hope to see you again on Friday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Thursday, November 4th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, and maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.